7 magistrates, 7 nights, 7 deaths. No one could explain why every man who sat in the magistrate's chair in Chosun County died before morning. It wasn't the chair that killed them, it was what sat waiting in it. She appeared at midnight. A girl no older than 16, kneeling in the center of the courtroom. Her white mourning clothes were soaked through, not with rain, but with pond water, dark and thick with silt. Her hair hung over her face in wet black ribbons, and when she looked up, her eyes were not angry, they were patient. She had been dead for 3 years, but she still had a story to tell, and she would keep killing until someone listened. To understand her, you must go back, not to the night she died, but to the years before it, when she was still alive and still believed her father would protect her. Back to a house in the mountains of Chosun that looked happy from the outside. Most prisons do. Bai Jwasu was a country gentleman who loved 3 things: his books, his wife, and his 2 daughters. Janghwa was 16, quiet, beautiful, gentle as still water. Hongryeon was 14, sharp-tongued, fierce, her sister's shadow and shield. They braided each other's hair by candlelight, and for a few golden years, the Bai household was something close to paradise. That world ended when their mother coughed blood into her sleeve and did not stop. She died holding both their hands, Janghwa on her left, Hongryeon on her right. Her last words were not profound. She simply said, "Be good to each other." It was the last time anyone in that house held them gently. Bai Jwasu mourned for 1 year and married again. The new wife was Lady Hyo, sharp cheekbones, a colder smile, and 3 sons from her first marriage who ate like wolves. She smiled at the girls when she arrived. She called them, "My daughters." Animals bear their teeth for the same reason. It began with small things. Silk replaced with hemp. Books confiscated. Meals served last. Then the girls were moved to the servants' quarters, and when Janghwa protested, Lady Hyo slapped her, precisely where the bruise would be hidden by her hair. The worst part was the performance. In front of their father, she would stroke Janghwa's hair and coo, "My dear, you must eat more." The moment he left, the hand in her hair became a fist. She never raised her voice. She never left marks he could see. Cruelty delivered with grace is the kind no one believes. Bai Jwasu saw nothing. Or rather, he chose to see nothing, which is worse. When Hongryeon said the stepmother locked them outside in a snowstorm, he called it exaggeration. When Janghwa showed him her calloused hands, he said, "Hard work builds character." A father who chooses not to see is worse than one who is blind, because a blind man at least has an excuse. By the 3rd year, Lady Hyo's sons were the only heirs. The girls were obstacles. She needed Janghwa gone, and she needed it to look like Janghwa's fault. One night, while Janghwa slept, Lady Hyo crept in carrying a cloth bundle. Inside, the bloody skin of a freshly skinned rat, folded to look like a stillborn child. She tucked it beneath Janghwa's blanket and left as silently as she had come.
"Husband, come quickly! Your daughter! Oh, your daughter has brought shame upon this house."
Bai Jwasu found the bloody bundle, and his world collapsed into a single, burning emotion: shame. In Joseon, an unmarried daughter's pregnancy was not merely a scandal, it was a death sentence for the family's honor.
Who? Who did this to you, or did you do this to yourself?
"Father, I swear, I don't know what this is. I have never... Father, please, look at me."
He did not look up.
"Take her to the pond behind Munam Temple. Make sure she doesn't come back. And Jang Sue, if you speak of this,
Your family starves.
The servant Jangso was a large man with small courage. He did as he was told. He dragged Janghwa out of the house before dawn, her wrists bound with rope, while her father sat in his study and stared at the wall and told himself this was justice.
Please, tell my father I am innocent. Tell Hongryeon I am sorry I could not protect her.
Jangso said nothing. He pushed her in. The pond was deep and black and swallowed her without a sound. Just a ring of ripples spreading outward in the dark. Janghwa's silver binyo floated for a moment, catching the moonlight before sinking after her. The water was cold, but not as cold as the hands that pushed her in. Hongryeon searched for 3 days. She went to every house, every temple, every market town within walking distance. No one had seen her sister. On the 3rd evening, she walked past the pond, behind Munam Temple, and saw something glinting at the water's edge, half buried in mud, tangled in dead reeds. Janghwa's silver binyo, the one their mother had given her. Hongryeon pulled it from the mud and held it against her chest. She knew.
Uni, I found you. I'm coming.
She did not scream. She did not hesitate. She held the binyo in both hands and walked into the water as if she were walking home. She jumped, not because she wanted to die, but because she could not live in a house where her sister had been erased. Lady Hyo burned their clothes, removed their names from the family registry, fed their mother's books to the kitchen fire. She told the village the girls had run away with merchants. She told Baejuasu they were ungrateful. He believed it. He had been believing her for 3 years. What was one more lie? The first new magistrate did not last the night. At midnight, the doors blew open without wind. Water seeped through the floorboards, cold, black, smelling of pond silt. And then she was there. A girl in white, soaking wet, kneeling at his desk. She had not walked in. She was simply there, the way nightmares are. They found him at dawn, eyes wide open, mouth frozen mid-scream. The coroner wrote, "Heart failure." Everyone knew what that really meant. The second magistrate lasted 2 nights. The third, 4 hours. The fourth drowned in the courtyard fountain, 6 inches of water. The fifth brought a monk. The monk survived. The magistrate did not. The 6th brought soldiers. The soldiers fled. The magistrate died, staring at something none of them had seen. The 7th collapsed at the gate, screaming about wet hands on his ankles. No one volunteered for the 8th. The court in Hanyang offered double salary, then triple. No one would take the post. Then a young magistrate named Jong Dong-gu, 30, formerly a military officer, the kind of man who slept with a sword under his pillow, volunteered. His letter to the ministry said, "7 men have died, and no one has asked why. Someone should." He did not draw the short straw. He chose it. Jong Dong-gu sat alone in the great hall, with every candle lit and his sword across his knees. At midnight, the candles went out, all of them, at once, as if something had inhaled the room. The water came through the floor. The smell of pond silt filled the air. And there she was, kneeling, dripping, her eyes finding his in the dark. He did not run. He did not scream. He gripped his sword and said one word.
Speak.
For 3 years, she had appeared to terrify. For 3 years, she had shown her death and her rage and her grief, and every man had looked away. Now, for the first time, someone was looking at her and asking to hear.
You are the first to ask. My name is Janghwa. My sister is Hongryeon. Our stepmother drowned me in the pond behind Munam Temple. She put a rat skin in my bed to frame me. I was 16. I had never been touched by any man. My crime was being in the way.
The water rose to his ankles.
My sister found my hairpin by the water. She walked into the same pond. We are both still there, at the bottom, in the dark, holding each other.
At dawn, Magistrate Jong ordered the pond drained. The monks refused. Sacred water. Jong told them murdered girls at the bottom made it a crime scene, not a shrine. They started bailing. They found them on the second day. 2 skeletons at the bottom, tangled in pond weeds, lying side by side. Janghwa's silver bignot was clutched in Hongryeon's left hand. She had been holding it when she drowned, and the bones had locked around it like a promise kept. Hongryeon's right arm was draped across her sister's rib cage. Even in death, she had found her. Even in death, she was still her shield. Magistrate Jong arrested the servant first. Jang-so confessed before his knees hit the floor. The rat skin, the rope, the sound Janghwa made when she hit the water. Lady Hyo was dragged from the house in her finest silk, screaming innocence, demanding her husband vouch for her. Her husband did not vouch for her. Bae Jwa-soo stood in the courtroom and listened to every word, and with each sentence, his spine bent lower, until he was kneeling on the floor with his forehead pressed to the wood, making a sound that was not quite weeping and not quite breathing. He had fed his daughters to a monster and called it marriage. He had believed a rat skin over his own child's tears. He had failed them twice, once when they were alive, and once when they begged him to listen. Lady Hyo was sentenced to death. Jang-so received 40 lashes and exile. Bae Jwa-soo was not punished. There was no law against being a fool, but he punished himself every day for the rest of his life. When they led Lady Hyo to the execution ground, she did not smile. It was the first time anyone in Cheolsan had seen her face without one. The hauntings stopped. The magistrate's chair sat empty for a week. Jong Dong-gu refused to sit in it until a proper funeral was held for both girls. Their bones were buried on the hillside above the pond, side by side, with a single gravestone that read, Janghwa and Hongryeon, beloved daughters. That spring, the pond bloomed with lotus flowers for the first time in anyone's memory. The ghost never appeared again. Some say the sisters were reborn, that Magistrate Jong's wife bore twin daughters the following year, both with the same fierce grip, the same way of holding hands, as if they had done it before. He named them Janghwa and Hongryeon. They were the daughters of the only man who chose to listen. In Korea, they say the dead only haunt you if you owe them something. The magistrates owed nothing. They were strangers who simply sat in the wrong chair. The stepmother owed 2 lives, and she paid. The servant owed his silence, and he paid. But the father owed the most of all, because the dead don't come back for justice. They come back for the love that was supposed to protect them. And that is a debt no execution can settle.